Well, I mean, we talked a little bit about it the other night. There's not a whole lot you can say that's going to alleviate some of the pain and frustration that we're all feeling right now. We understand why our team was built. There's high expectations, and with that, when you don't get to where you want to go, there sometimes is that pain that's deep. That's what happens in competition. With all that said, you also have to try to keep some perspective about it. There's 400 players plus 28 teams that didn't have an opportunity to play for it in that last round. There were 200 plus players and 14 teams that are having the meeting that I'm about to have 2 months ago. And there are a lot of players, good players, that have never had an opportunity to play for a ring, much less have a ring, but to even feel what a finals experience feels like. So you do have to keep some perspective on that. You can't be so jaded. I said this even before. You can't be so jaded or even entitled that you think that this is just going to happen every single year, and so jaded where you can't take a step back and say, okay, that was a heck of an accomplishment to even make it that far with a group. It's one of the toughest things to ever do in life, is to collaborate, is to have a true trust of sacrifice, of a working collaboration toward a common goal, and then be able to come that close and to put yourselves out there, even if you don't make it. It's a heck of an accomplishment for the group in that locker room, and we will have perspective about it. It might not be today, but at some point, hopefully this summer, we'll all be able to step back and say that it was a great year in many regards. We didn't accomplish our ultimate goal, but that we'll learn from it. Yeah, Ethan, I'm going through it right now. Like I said, with the meeting and working with the draft, I'm also spending a little bit of time today, which I'll spend much more extensively in the next 3 weeks of going through the analysis of the season. I'm not ready to go through the full autopsy of it right now, but certainly you have to be able to defend at a championship level, and we didn't consistently do that during the regular season. We had stretches where we did. And then even stretches during the postseason where we did, but in the finals we weren't able to get to it. I'm not sure whether I'm able to point to that right now, that was an absolute indication during the regular season. I know you're up against the odds if you don't have a top 10, top 5 defense. We didn't. We were right there, I think 11th at the very end. Most of the half we were in the bottom half. But you're managing and dealing with as much as you can during the regular season. We had built habits. It wasn't for a lack of work. Guys were very committed, especially in training camp and practice sessions, shoot-arounds. We just couldn't get over the hump to have that elite level top 5 defense. I'll go to bat in that foxhole, Dwayne, any day. It's funny how the narrative changes within a matter of days. We don't get caught up in the exaggeration and the ups and downs of all the analysis and conjecture from outside. It's natural. It's part of the business. You have to deal with it. We deal with it by protecting each other. Okay, and everybody's had to go through it at some point, including myself. But anybody that's been in with this team, player or coach, at some point we've been through it. But just keep it in perspective. 10 days ago, people were saying Dwayne was playing at the highest level he's played at in the last 3 years. Okay, and he had built up to that point by putting in a lot of time behind the scenes. He had a terrific season, record-breaking in terms of his shooting efficiency and some of the things he was doing offensively to reinvent himself throughout the playoffs. He was getting better and stronger. And so we got beat across the board by the San Antonio Spurs. And it's a team thing with us, and you have to credit them, for that. We're not at that point right now, but we have a couple weeks to figure it out. We have a great track record, and we have a championship first-class organization. That is our best-selling pitch. LeBron, whatever he wants to, however he wants to. But he knows what we're about as an organization, our track record, and how committed we'll be. He knows that. I'm actually glad you asked about Greg, because I met with him this morning, and I think it's, if not the biggest, one of the biggest success stories of the regular season and postseason, is Greg Oden coming back from the injuries that he's had. For 4 straight years, he wasn't able to get in a uniform consistently, and sometimes the perception outside is so jaded that that's not seen as a success. And I told him a story that we were the first team on the first stage of Sean Livingston's comeback. And everybody forgot about that, but how important that first stage was. And the narrative that was out there at that point was that it was an absolute failure, that he couldn't get back on the court. He was cut before he even got going. But that was his first big, important step, was to be available, ready to compete, and then start to work, get his body right again. And then obviously fast forward to this year, one of the best success stories, but that success story happened 4 or 5 years ago. Greg Oden has gone through more than any of us could imagine to get to this point. And it was the first big step, and I'm so proud of him to commit, to be able to put himself out there, susceptible to criticism, susceptible to that type of negative narrative, but to be able to commit the year before we had him, to get in shape, lose the weight, get back ready to present himself to a team, and then to commit to us every single day to the point where the majority of nights he was available. And I think that's a remarkable comeback, and it's only the first step. So he'll have a very committed summer again, and then we'll see where he's able to take his career from here. But this was such a critical, important step that all of us we couldn't be happier for him. Seeing the smile on his face, the Eastern Conference title, all of that. But that's for a guy that's seen some dark, low places. When you have something taken away from you that you can't control.